Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Che.
This is Corey.
And this is the Next Time On podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things fetid in popular culture. If it's your first time listening to the podcast, it's like if Ethan Rife and Cyrus Forrest, instead of teaming up to write the most incomprehensible comic book movie, in the hardest of air quotes, decided to team up to make the most incomprehensible comic book podcast in the history of podcasts. Is that fair, Corey?
I mean, I was really wondering who the fuck those two guys
Those are the writers
honestly.
of Bulletproof Monk, 2003 superhero movie, apparently, according to Wikipedia. Superhero comedy film starring...
This is a comedy?
I mean, I think technically, if you're trying to make jokes, it's a comedy. It doesn't matter if the jokes are funny or not, I think.
I gotta say, I actually do... When I was a kid, I liked the Kung Fu Panda movies, and I think that's the only thing they did.
Well, they wrote the story, which I don't know. They wrote the story of the first one, and then
Okay, well, never mind then. That probably means that they wrote the screenplay, and someone was like, "Oh, this is shit. But we like the idea, basically."
They also wrote the 2010 Robin Hood, which is the Robin Hood starring.
Russell Crowe.
Okay, that's the Russell Crowe one. I was trying to figure out if that was Russell Crowe or the tail end.
I think that one came out in the mid 2010s.
Okay.
I think.
That Robin Hood is my favorite because there's a scene in the movie, I can't remember which one it is, where there's a group of extras where in the background of the shot, there's clearly somebody wearing like an American Apparel hoodie. And they just like did not bother to get enough costumes for all the people they needed. It's the most lazily made movie. Jamie Foxx is playing Friar Tuck. It's very weird.
What? Okay, never mind. Let me not look into it more than I have to. Also, if you guys are watching the video, I'm so sorry. This is the last week this is going to happen to me, but for some reason my MacBook webcam cannot decide lighting. Even though this is a very well-lit room, they cannot decide on how light or dark it's going to be. So sometimes I'm in shadow, and sometimes
It looks like you ever seen those interviews with like a criminal, like a drug lord? It looks like I'm interviewing the head of a cartel.
You put my voice through on one of those synthesizers.
Yeah, I can. I think that would be a miserable experience for like the next clearly like 4 hours. We're going to be talking about this insane movie. Also, if you're watching the video, I'm going to be very damp because I'm in a fucking basement with no air conditioning, and I am already boiling. So it's going to be a fun experience. We're probably going to be losing our mind by the end of this recording.
Probably so. I just like this because even if I did go through one of those voice things, I feel like everyone would be like, "Oh, that's Corey." Like, there's no fucking way.
I mean, there's like 270 episodes of just the two of us talking to each other. I think they'd be able to piece it together. If
Yeah,
I had to guess.
My cadence is that of an insane person. So,
I think no more delay. Let's just get down to business. Let's talk about what is. So Corey and I had a little bit of discussion, and if you're a longtime listener, please write in. I don't know why I say write in, like we don't have like an email, but we do. But don't email us. Tweet us or some shit. I think this is the worst movie we've ever done. Corey is less sure of the fact.
I just think I'm trying to remember more recent films, but Che did bring up Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons, it's true. Dungeons and Dragons is worse than this one, but I don't think by much. You think by a lot.
I think Dungeons and Dragons is one of the worst things I've ever experienced, and every second of it was pain.
It's pretty rough.
Oh wait, there's another one we watched, and I was mad that I couldn't get it off of my computer, even though I kept on trying to delete it, but it was it stayed around like a virus.
Well,
I'm trying to remember
I have
what it
a
was.
particular hatred for Tokyo Drift, and I think that's just like a personal hatred of mine.
Yeah, I think it's more of a personal, because I mean, Tokyo Drift isn't.
It's not as bad as this movie by any stretch.
No, it's not. No, it is not at all.
I'm quickly scrolling through our archives to see some movies we did. We, of course, did the 1995 Mortal Kombat, which is actually, in a lot of ways, is like sort of in the same vein as this movie. We're going to talk about, when we get more down to business, the like...
But it makes us kind of... that was fun, though.
But I just mean like the insanity of the mid-2000s and like late 90s martial arts movies, where it was like nobody did martial arts anymore. They just flew around. And the opening fight scene of this movie really puts me in a bad mood. I'm like, oh no, it's gonna be that kind of kung fu flick, I guess. We also have Like Mike, which is also incomprehensible.
Oh, Like Mike might be. Like Mike was very bad, hard to get through.
Still going through. Charlie's Angels is terrible, but the thing is, Charlie's Angels is.
Plus, Charlie's Angels was softcore porn.
But the thing is, it's weird. Charlie's Angels weirdly is like goes up in my estimation because of how bad the other Charlie's Angels movies are. Like the sequel to the original Charlie's Angels and then the reboot are actually worse than the Charlie's Angels we did, which is incredible. But I don't know. Maybe we'll do. Maybe I'll go through and do a full deep dive into our archives and pick out maybe the worst ones and see if we can throw up a poll or some shit. I don't really know. Figure out which one is the worst one here. Oh wait, hold on. I just got to our episode where we did The Happening.
That was funny though. It was.
The Happening is hilarious. Yeah. This movie's not fun to watch.
The Happening was Shay's only chance to make me watch an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and that's the last one I will ever watch. And I told you that when we before
You mean
we
you didn't see Old, the beach movie?
I told you that was the only one that was the last M. Night Shyamalan movie I'm ever gonna watch. And I mean, I think I brought it up on this podcast, but I learned how he keeps making movies. It's pretty good because he self-finances everything, and I didn't know he did that. So I had no idea because I mean, after a while, I'm like, I have no idea who keeps giving him money. And I think
he's got his own production company by this point.
You know whose fault it was though? Everybody who went to go see Split. See, like the people who went to go see Split, and the people who went to go see Glass. You're the reason the Old exists. So I'm happy. Like I hope you're happy.
I still remember the Split when Split came out. Everyone was like, "Oh, M. Night Shyamalan's back." So I watched it because I was like, I mean, I'm also like obsessed with movies. I'm just very curious. And then it's like a balls to the wall, insane James McAvoy performance stuck in the middle of a trash movie, obviously, because M. Night Shyamalan doesn't know how to write movies. It is I think semi-responsible for giving us Anya Taylor-Joy though, so I guess we have to give it some credit. But
wow.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about Split. We're not here to talk about M. Night Shyamalan. We're not here to talk about even Dungeons and Dragons, despite how much I kind of want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons instead of this movie. We're here to talk about the 2003 cinematic classic Bulletproof Monk, directed by Paul Hunter. I think a man we've done a movie of his before. I think. No, we haven't because this is the only movie he's ever done. So his name sounded familiar for no reason.
Looks like he was a music video guy.
Lots of music videos, which is weird because this is not like there was like a genre of 90s and 2000s action movies that were just like long music videos. This isn't really one of them. There's not like a bunch of like
but they all like
shit like in the Blade movies.
They all look like these though. Like they all like look. Yes, this was like a very like I don't really know what this genre is besides just calling it shit. But it's like all these movies looked very similar to it's like Underworld, all those like weird like action movies that people have never seen.
I think that's disrespectful to Underworld though. To be honest.
The first thing that came to my mind. Underworld is actually very fun.
In comparison to this movie, Underworld is Citizen Kane.
Honestly, I was trying to think of another one, like maybe Daredevil, like the Daredevil and Elektra, like Elektra especially because Elektra is a horrible film. I was at a bar once, and this is how much we don't want to talk about this movie, where they were just showing Elektra on all the screens, and I was like, I gotta leave. I can't just out of the corner of my eye, I cannot be seeing Elektra.
Well, so, I mean, speaking of like Daredevil, it comes out in 2003. Another very weird year for movies. We have Daredevil, we have Matrix Reloaded, the beginning of the end of the Matrix series, as far as I'm concerned. We've got The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, another movie we've done on this podcast. X2, Hulk, Tomb Raider. The Medallion, if anybody remembers that very weird Jackie Chan movie, which was again sort of the beginning of the end of Jackie Chan being a
was there a random comedian in it with him? I can't remember.
Probably there always is. There's a woman who's starring, and I can't remember who the woman is, so I'm looking it up now. It is Claire Forlani. Lee Evans maybe is the comedian you're thinking of. I wouldn't call Lee Evans a comedian, but
I think they usually attach like a. Yeah, I don't know. Ouch.
He's in Something About Mary and Mouse Hunt, so.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's the early 2000s is a very dark time for blockbuster movies in particular. I think it's the transition between when like the highest grossing movie of the year could be the best picture winner and the superhero era, which I know a lot of people hate the superhero era, but you have to at least admit Spider-Man No Way Home is fucking better than this movie. I'd rather have 40 Marvel movies a year than have to watch another Bulletproof Monk. So,
I mean, like, listen, I know we're kind of split on the Bryan Singer's movies, myself and you included, but the best movie you listed out of that list was X2, and I'm like, everything else was like, I could watch X2. I don't ever want to watch any of these other movies again.
Yeah, it is saying something when Bryan Singer brings you probably your best action blockbuster of the year. There's some gems in here too. I think we're both stands for The Italian Job, the remake. That's like a lot of
but
fun.
I mean, but it's like the Laura Croft and like this is that genre. It's not like those. It's like the shitty kind of like high action like blockbuster. Like they were looking for blockbusters with these genres, like these things, they're like.
And it's also
shit.
it's the time in movie history when you would have given a man who has never directed a movie ever like a pretty big cast of stars. Not that I think Jaime King or Seann William Scott are like very talented, but this is sort of peak of their fame.
Yeah, this was it's like coming off of American Pie, people being like, this guy could be like the next, like, he was the best part of this movie. We could make him like the next comedy guy, basically. We can sell a bunch of shit from it. And they weren't.
Yeah, 2003 is 4 years after American Pie, 2 years after American Pie 2. Also in that run, he does Final Destination, Road Trip, Dude, Where's My Car, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Old School, which I have to admit, his like one scene in Old School is maybe the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I have to give.
And I think Dude, Where's My Car is a very stupid movie, but it has some funny parts in it. I haven't seen it in many years, and I think I saw it in college. I'm like, oh, this isn't good, but it was fine. I think I was like,
I'm not even 100% sure I actually have seen this movie. I'm not.
What, Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah, I remember it being like a phenomenon. Weirdly,
I think it was like one of those like early
box office $73 million. Like this was a smash hit.
I think it was like one of those early like that era of like stoner films, where it's like we're not smoking weed, but these guys are definitely high. I think it's been so long, guys, so nobody called me out on that one. But also, Chow Yun-Fat, man, what a downhill cycle that this kind of started with. I'm trying to look. I'm looking at his filmography. But I'm like, I
think there's a long history of respected Asian, in particular Chinese actors coming over to America and then being foisted into truly horrible movies. I mean, look at what we did to Jet Li and Jackie Chan for like 2 decades. We just made them make the most ridiculous bullshit. And Chow Yun-Fat has multiple Best Actor awards from the Hong Kong Film and Golden Horse Awards in China and Hong Kong. So, like, he's a very respected and talented actor. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is, like, one of the most, like, critically lauded martial arts film of all time. And he's in this. But I think that's just like par for the course because of how... I think just how much money you could have made as a Hong Kong actor at that time, just making any American movie, despite the fact that I don't think Chow Yun-Fat read this script and was like, this will be the one for me. I don't think he was really excited about Bulletproof.
Let's put the. I mean, it does seem like he was tuned out the entire time, honestly, and he's still the best thing about this movie easily.
I think he could have been asleep for the whole movie and still been the best part of it, though.
I agree. I mean, I think it's just like this is still not as bad of a decision as Dragon Ball Evolution. I will say that much.
Is he in Dragon Ball? I've never seen it.
He's in Dragon Ball. You were missing nothing. That was like one of those.
He has had a very strange career, to say the least.
I remember Dragon Ball Evolution was one of those. Like I watched it, I'm like, oh, this is like what bad movies are. Like this is what like pure. This is like what pure bad movies are. That was given like a big budget, and it started really quickly with casting a white guy as the main lead. Because then everyone else was Asian too, so they knew what they were doing, which is the weirder part. But let's talk about Bulletproof Monk. Che, we got to talk about Bulletproof Monk. It's been 15 minutes. We got to go into this.
That's fine. All right. So
we have to go into it. I'm sorry for keep throwing us off the track, but we have.
we already did the who made it, who's in it. We did all that. The question is, what happened in this movie? Do you want me to run down the plot, or would you like to run down the plot in again?
You run down the plot because I think honestly I kept on like coming back into it, being like, oh, what the fuck just happened? So I think you should run down the plot. And
okay, so the movie starts off in a flashback to 1943's Tibet. I want to stress that again, Tibet, which is not in Europe or close to Europe. We're at a monastery full of monks at the top of a mountain, and a young monk played by Chow Yun-Fat has the power of a scroll. What the scroll is, what the power is. None of that stuff is
the power.
It's never explained. But he has that power passed off to him by the master monk, played by Roger Yuan, another Asian acting legend. Although I guess Asian American acting legend. And then a group of Nazis who took a very long flight from the middle of the battlefield, again, 1943 Tibet, to climb to the top of a mountain in Tibet to get a scroll.
A bunch of Nazis.
Come in and kill all of the monks except for Chow Yun-Fat, who escapes. And then we flash forward 60 years later to 2003. I think New York, right? It's never explicitly stated, but they're running around the subways and shit, right?
Yeah, subways. I mean, I think it was supposed to be New York. It looked kind of.
It's weird because I guess
vaguely like New York.
We didn't really mention the comic book. This is very vaguely based on the comic book. The comic book is set in San Francisco, Chinatown. I didn't know if they were just like trying to make this be San Francisco, but it was clearly New York, or if it's supposed to be in New York. But again, if you guys have read the comic book, which is actually pretty hard to find, so it's unlikely you have. It's about as related to this movie as the Wanted movie is related to the Wanted comic book. They have essentially nothing to do with each other, except for the main character's name is the same. Different race though. Carr is Asian in the comic books, supposedly. So then we flash forward 60 years, and we are introduced to a young pickpocket played by Seann William Scott, who is running around the subways, just brazenly stealing from everybody, including undercover police officer who he then assaults and runs away.
Gets away from
in a very crowded very crowded subway station. He is chased by a group of cops.
And let's be honest, guys. Cops, they wouldn't do anything.
Actually, once you like flipped over another cop and handcuffed him to they might then come kill you. But
that's true. That's fair. They might come kill you. Yeah.
Before that, the cops didn't really care about pickpocketing. But yeah, once he fucking judo took down the other cop, they would have probably shot him in his face. But as he's running from the cops, we also have our monk running for. He's also a nameless monk, so we just have to keep calling him monk for this whole time, which is annoying. But he's also running from.
Why doesn't he have a name?
He says one line. He says a line to Carr, who gave up his name to pick a random Chinese word that he doesn't even pronounce correctly, which I love. And he said his line is, "I gave up everything when I got the scroll," which doesn't really make sense. It sounds like a thing that a white guy wrote to sound like mystical and Asian in a way that
sounds
only white guys can. Yeah, he's a monk with no name. I guess we could just call him Bulletproof Monk. The Bulletproof Monk is running away from a group of faceless men in suits who we later find out are the henchmen of our Nazi from the opening scene. They collide into each other and knock a young girl who, in an act of like basically defying the laws of physics, gets her leg jammed under a train track.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
She falls down, and then her leg goes under and stuck. It's very weird.
And then it's one of my favorite after they do eventually rescue her through bullshit. And he has magic powers occasionally, and it's like they don't really explain when he has magic powers and when he doesn't have magic powers. It's a bit confusing.
He has magic powers like twice in the movie. Yeah. If you can bend to steel beams with your hands, use it more often.
And one of my my favorite train station, someone's on the track tropes where the train goes by and you just lose the main characters and they're magically on another set of tracks walking down and the girl's rescued. I'm like, that, how? Like, the
You
train
have to be
was like,
running at the speed of the train to do that.
when you see the train, you're fucked. That's not like, that's like you have to climb out immediately as soon as you see the train, and even then you're still probably dead.
They
But
could have. I
nope.
mean, they could have edited. They cut that scene in a way that was like they kept cutting back and forth, obviously, as you would to increase the tension between the three characters on the tracks and the train. But they cut back to the train being way too close. They cut back to a shot right before the girl is saved, where the train's like 6 inches away from us. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how did they? How is this girl alive? How is this not a tragic end to this 10-minute movie? But this is how our two main characters are introduced, and they walk through. I guess maybe this does exist. I don't think they would just be like towns underneath the subway, but they walk through basically like a massive. I don't even know what to call it. Like just a giant room in the subway system, where they part ways. Seann William Scott pickpockets Bulletproof Monk for his scroll that he carries around with him, despite the fact that we later find out it doesn't have anything on it of any value, but he still carries it around all the time. And then Seann William Scott,
Book of Eli, motherfucker. Sorry,
it's a very Book of Eli. But as they're parting ways, Carr turns into like
a car. Sorry,
a mole people gang.
Yeah, like that was a weird one too. Where it's like, first of all, where do these people live? Is it the set of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? You can't pickpocket on our turf. Like that actually is a thing.
How the fuck do they even know who he is?
Exactly, and this comically British guy who's just saying nonsense.
Don't
and
say
like,
comically British guy. Say his name. His name is Funktastic, and everyone says it like it's serious.
Why do you think I actually was paying attention to this movie, Shay? It was happening at me. I was not enjoying it.
This is one of the most insane performances I've ever seen. Because he's surrounded by like a very culturally diverse group of gang members. He's got a couple black guys and white guys. And he's got a woman in the gang. And they're just hanging out in like a fucking garbage city underground.
Yep.
And then they just fight this guy because apparently Funktastic, which again, his name is Funktastic, knows some amount of martial arts, which is odd, but whatever. What are you going to do? British guy in New York City, good with a pipe. Fights Seann William Scott. I can't keep calling him Carr. I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep calling him Seann William Scott. Fights.
It is funny because that's harder to say.
I know, but I just hate saying Carr. It's such a dumb character name for this very,
with
very
a K.
white man. Yeah. They fight him, and Bulletproof Monk observes the fight, and this fulfills the first of 3 prophecies that he was given that indicate who will take the scroll after him.
Yes. And I did find it kind of funny where it was like he'll fight a group of like whatever under cranes, and it was like literal cranes. I'm like, that's kind of fucking funny. That was a little funny to me. I'm like, okay, that's dumb, but
it's okay.
funny.
It's anytime it's just Chow Yun-Fat in a shot, it's like actually kind of enjoyable. Like he's having a lot of fun watching this guy get assaulted by
and then he's
gang.
like, I think he says like as like confuses the audience, being like, oh, those are technically cranes, I guess. So does it count?
He also starts walking away because he's like, he's not gonna win, and he's like, he's not gonna win.
It's
so
funny.
That can't be, and he's just leaving him to die. I guess is what he thinks.
I mean, even when the fight's over, he doesn't really win. They're just like, all right, get out of here now, which is like how most fights go. Yeah, because like you punch each other a little bit and like, all right, you scram now and everything's okay.
Don't glaze past what the reason that they stop fighting. It's because we are introduced to our third main character, Jaime King, who plays Jade, Bad Girl Kerensky, and Bad Girl.
I wish you could see my face out of the shadow because I just felt just everything. I forgot about the Bad Girl part. I forgot about that.
Bad Girl, as her character is called, ends the fight by whispering into Funktastic's ear, "Violence gets me hot, let's go." And then Funktastic, who we later find out has never had sex with this woman before. It's like, okay guys, fight's over, let's all go home. It's one of the most, I mean, are we sure I'm asking this knowing the answer to the question already. Are we sure Ethan and Cyrus have ever met a woman before?
No.
And if they ever had sex before? Because this is not how sex works.
No, probably not, no. And also, I think her character confuses me the most because it seems like she's playing, like, 4 different parts in the film. Like, because first off, like, at the very end, they have a bullshit reason why she was technically there. Because it's stupid. But then I'm like, why is she there?
It's not even a reason. She just says something random. She's like, I like being in the streets.
It's for the fucking prophecy bullshit. But then it's like, and then like, that's why she's there, I guess. And then she's at the museum opening. Like, I'm supposed to be like, why is this same woman at the museum opening? She was literally hanging out with people in the sewers.
Well, we know why she's at the museum because we find out later she's like a billionaire's child. A billionaire criminal's child.
What the fuck? Yeah, like, what the fuck is that all about?
We're going to get there. So after we're introduced to our third character, the fight breaks up, everyone leaves. We find out later that Carr has stolen the necklace of Bad Girl. I'll call her Jade just for Corey's sake. Has stolen Jade's necklace, and she has to then go track him down. She manages to find him and Bulletproof Monk in like a random place in New York City, a very small town with like not that many people, so it makes sense that she just stumbles across them the next day. But after that, they during that interaction, they get accosted by more German Nazis trying to track down the scroll. This is the scene where he shoots the guns out of the guy's hands and then kicks the clips at them, right?
I think so.
It's the only like there's 2 seconds of this movie that are like kind of cool, and then the rest of the fight scenes in this movie are awful.
Well, the thing about it is they got to stop including people who are not Chow Yun-Fat. They just like, they're like, let's see like the whole like, because they're not. It's the slow. They're slow. It's so slow. Like all of the people who clearly have no martial arts training. It's like when we watched Iron Fist, and that guy clearly has never like did not do like he probably learned choreography a week before the shit started. And it's like it's so clear
it has to be stunt doubles, so just get good stunt doubles. There's no way that's Jaime King flipping all over the place. But I just think the fight choreography in this movie is so weak. Like the fight between...
Well, I think the worst one was the Seann William Scott like duel with him, where it's clearly Seann William Scott, which, I mean, to his credit, he's not the worst thing about it. It's just like so painfully slow, and it's like he's supposed to be like the chosen one, but it's like not. It's just...
We're going to get to this chosen one bullshit in a bit, don't worry. I'm going to place the rest of this plot because this is not... This movie is basically incomprehensible. So Seann William Scott, we skipped over this part, lives in a movie theater. That's how he learns martial arts at the Golden House movie theater with star of another Curse of the Rewatch film. We got Mako playing Mr. Kojima, rest in peace.
Oh my god, that was him.
The legend.
Oh my god.
Yeah. From Mortal Kombat.
Rest in peace.
And actually, his two scenes are my favorite scenes in this movie.
He's so sincere. He's just such a sincere person. And I was like, who the fuck is this? And I didn't even look it up because I just didn't recognize him in person. Like, this guy is in the wrong movie. Like, he's just saying, like, there's I believe in him. I'm like, why do you believe in him? What has this man ever done for you to believe in him?
It's absolutely worth mentioning.
I hate Chosen One bullshit, even though these movies are always... I hate Chosen One bullshit where the guy has literally no reason to be a Chosen One. It's just like, he's a pickpocket who lives on top of the movie theater. I don't see why we believe he has any type of whatever. He, like, the reason he allures this woman is he stole from her. There's no other interaction.
It's not even really why. She's, like, down when she sees him, so...
For what reason?
I guess Seann William Scott's hot? I don't know.
I don't get it.
So... The Germans come to the movie theater and they come across our boy Mr. Kojima. Of course, they kill him, even though killing him would cause them more problems than not. But of course, they're Nazis and we're supposed to hate them. And you got to kill off one of your characters. I guess 2. We've killed
Absolutely.
Off. This is the second Asian person who's died in this movie. All right, so then Carr and the Bulletproof Monk return back to the Golden House to find Mr. Kojima murdered. And this, I was going to say this motivates them to do something, but it actually doesn't. They were already, now that I'm thinking about it, they were already going to do all the things that were going to happen in the rest of this movie. Actually, why did they kill off Mr. Kojima? It's not an exciting event for any things that come after.
I thought he was captured, honestly. Then he's like, he's dead. I'm like, oh, well, why'd they kill him? Just Just cause? Really? There really wasn't much of a reason to actually kill him. Cause.
Because we need more reason to hate the Nazis.
Nazis? Yeah, exactly. I don't. That's why people use Nazis and things like this, because you don't really need to have a reason. They're Nazis. Yeah. You don't need to go into any backstory. Why are they bad guys? They're Nazis. Say no more.
I don't even really remember how we get to the next scene where there's a helicopter shooting at them. But they end up in like another warehouse where a helicopter starts shooting at them. That's all you really need to know. They run from the helicopter. And then during this whole sequence that is truly terribly choreographed and all of that, they get back the Germans get the scroll back, and this is when we the audience and the Germans find out that actually there's nothing. It's like a recipe for soup or something, right?
I don't even fucking remember, dude, but it sounds about right.
It's not important. It's when the whole point is that the scroll doesn't really matter, and actually Bulletproof Monk has memorized and written the scroll on his body because again, if the scroll doesn't matter, why does everyone need the scroll? Even in the opening sequence, when all the monks are being shot and killed by the Germans, the master monk, while he's dying, says, "Go get the scroll." I guess at that point he had memorized it or whatever. I hate this movie.
Who fucking knows, man?
And then after this, this scene is incomprehensible. They know where Jade lives somehow. That's never explained how they know where her fucking house is. And then
I don't understand how anybody actually knows who her secret identity is, apparently.
And then they go break into her house, which is also not explained why they need to break in. Can't they just knock on the door?
I think honestly, I think they even make a comment like, I should have just called or some shit like that. So I think she gives them her phone number, basically.
Yeah.
She gives them a way to contact her. Like, he's like, she was like, I think they even mentioned, like, I should have just called. Like, yeah.
They break into, I should say, Carr breaks into the house and has the horniest fight I've ever seen. With it looks like it's directed by Quentin Tarantino. It's just all foot shots and then humping. Yeah. That's all it is. It's such a weird scene. And then he aggressively kisses her in the middle of the scene, which I guess in 2003 people thought was cute,
but that's in real life that's assault, brother.
That's a felony, Chief.
You broke into someone's house, you fought them, then you kissed her. That's that's a lot of charges right there, brother.
Honestly, R. Kelly's going to prison for 30 years for not much more than that. So we should be sending our man Carr to jail for a long time.
And Shay's gonna cut out this.
What's that? There's nothing wrong with that. R. Kelly is going to jail because he's a fucking criminal.
He is. Just keep talking. We're almost
we also then discover that Jade has an arsenal of TNT in her basement, which again is not explained why. They use that TNT to go to the subway underneath the museum where the Germans have kidnapped all the monks who betrayed the Bulletproof Monk before. I skipped over that part, sorry. People listening to this have no idea what's going on in the movie, but just be clear, if you had been watching the movie, you'd be making just as much sense. Then there's a fight between young Nazi. What's his name? Strucker. Young Strucker, who uses the scroll's power to de-age himself, which until this moment we didn't realize was part of the scroll's power.
I mean, I figured as soon as he was like in old man makeup as clearly as a young person.
Well, he also gets the power of the Force, so there's that. That's important to remember.
Why would they have the?
It's like, obviously, we defeat the Nazis, and then I think genuinely, in a movie that's been truly terrible from start to finish, we get the worst part of the movie, which is when the Bulletproof Monk, who has been the carrier of the scroll for 60 years, and met two white people in New York 2 days ago, gives
who were
them
both
the
criminals.
Power of the scroll. Yes,
they're both criminals.
Well, I guess only one of them is like a criminal. The other one was just like hanging out with criminals. You never saw her do any crimes.
She has dynamite. Nobody with good intentions has dynamite.
It's like a lot of dynamite. That's true. And then the movie ends.
Yep.
It is. It's genuinely one of the most. What's the word? I want to say confounding, but confounding suggests that the more you think about it, the more you could like piece some pieces together. It's just nonsense. It's basically a collection of scenes that have sort of nothing to do with each other, and then interspersed between those two scenes is either Seann William Scott being horny or really terribly choreographed action sequences, and there's kind of no rhyme or reason to what the order or sequence of those events are, but we do get from the beginning to the middle and then to eventually the end of this film. So I guess technically it is a movie. It's got that going for it. Is that fair, Corey?
I think it technically is a film. Also, I think before we go to break, no one's really bulletproof in this movie. No one. There's like maybe
he gets shot once and it hits him and it goes in his body. That's not what bulletproof means.
And also he got like shot with a dart. I'm like, if he was bulletproof, why is he running from guns?
But the dart part is really funny because they just shot him in the neck. The Nazis win with a real gun.
I'm just like, what's
at
the
that point they don't know there's any reason to keep him alive. I guess they were worried that maybe they needed to, and it turns out they did because he had memorized. Why not just memorize the whole thing then? Why write most of it on your body and then memorize the end? Why not just memorize the whole fucking thing if you're going to do that?
Man, you tell me, brother. I don't fucking know.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about what's good, which will be a very short segment of this podcast. What's bad, which will be a much longer segment of this podcast. And then we'll eventually fix this tire fire of a film.
I don't think we can. Okay, yeah.
No. I got this. Don't you worry.
Get your punk ass over here. Fingerman here calls himself Carr. Got a car ripping off marks at the Bishop Square subway station.
Fantastic's the name. And profit's the game. See, I'm a businessman. And my fiscal policy towards crime consists of 2 words. Zero tolerance. Unless, of course, the criminal in question has an officially authorized franchise. And you ain't got one.
I'm supposed to pay you for the right to rip people off?
That's right. 60% off the top. This entitles you to squatters' rights in Mr. Funktastic's cribs, Chow with his greasy spoons, and protection provided by Mr. Funktastic and his crew.
And that's us. You know, it's really enticing. But if this is an example of a funktastic crib, I'm gonna check myself into a Motel 6.
That's good.
And we're back.
What's up?
All right. Usually how this podcast is structured is we do the what is this movie, which we just did. And then we come back from the break and we say, how good is this movie? And I usually have some notes here. But I'm at this doc, I quite literally have one note. And that is that the concept of this film, I think, is really good. I think the idea of a martial arts comedy, which I think, I should say this, I did shit on, we spent the beginning of this podcast shitting on the year 2003, which was a bleak year for movies, but I do sort of miss when this kind of movie existed. Not this quality of movie, let's be very clear.
Like the whole, obviously Rush Hour.
Like Rush Hour.
Shanghai Nights.
Yes, like an action comedy.
Wilson.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, those are good comedians.
Anymore.
No,
right.
I mean we just got our first like martial arts film in forever. Well, the last 2 years, 3. We had Shang-Chi, which was like a Marvel film, but it was a kind of like, it was a throwback to that whole like genre. And then we got Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was like so good. It's kind of one of those things that kind of transcends.
I hope that movie teaches studios the right lesson, and that they can make movies like this, and we can get more shit.
Yes.
Like we had Mortal Kombat last year, which was fun.
It was fun. Not good, but it was fun.
Yeah. I like the idea of an action comedy, and you have this sort of like fish out of water story where you have this Tibetan monk who's been burdened with a scroll that he has to guard forever, and he runs into 2 people who couldn't be any less like him, and they have to make an unlikely pairing to save the day. That's a good idea for a movie. absolutely
and-
no
and
part
they're
of this movie works. But
No. And I think like even like the whole like the Nazi thing is like and I think with the Nazis in the beginning, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a very silly film, and I'm like, maybe it'll be fun because it's just like automatically so over the top. Like they're chasing this monk. I forgot even where the story was going because I think I remember seeing this as a kid. So I remember for some reason the movie theater scene even being like, yo, this is stupid. That's not how you learn martial arts. Because if that's how you learn martial arts, I'd be a fucking Power Ranger right now.
I mean, I'm willing to like forgive something like that because I was
No, that's fine. I mean, like I'm trying to remember now because I think there is a movie that I actually do like that does the same
Where the
thing,
character
where it's just like
fights the way.
like kind of shadowing from something. And I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what it was, but I remember liking that. So I don't want to shit on it too much. It's just kind of silly when I'm seeing Seann William Scott do it.
I should say that I was incorrect when I said the only thing that is from the original comic book is Carr's name. Also, the Nazis are from the original book, so that is another thing that they pulled from it.
I have no problem with the Nazis. I have no problem with the Nazis showing up, dude. Ladies and gentlemen, please do
Great
not ever clip
villains.
that. I'm so sorry. Don't ever clip that.
No, Nazis are a great villain to have in your movie because they're eminently hateable and immediately, and the thing is, you don't need to do a bunch of character development. That's what works in a movie like this, where you don't have time to introduce us to a villain and make us hate him. It's not like Dark Knight where we're gonna spend half the movie with the Joker. Just call them Nazis. I'll be like, great, let's kill those Nazis. Easy peasy. But
Easy peasy.
yeah, I mean, the other thing I think works about this movie we talked about before is, of course, Chow Yun-Fat, who is easily the best performance in this movie. Unless, do you want to give it to the late great Mako? Sorry.
Well, I think we have to give it to Chow Yun-Fat because it's just like he's in the movie enough that he at least makes it semi-entertaining. I mean, Mako's 2-3 scenes are very much like you belong.
So fucking good.
You belong in a different I know he's dead and when we do the remake, but that sincerity of a character needs to be there for in the future, because that was just a very like, if it was about a character I actually did like, I'm like, yeah, I'm rooting for him, but like the pickpocket's kind of just a dickhead, honestly, and they always talk about hot dogs. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about the hot dogs.
The hot dog line that ends this movie, which we will get to in worse lines, is patently insane. It's like one of the stupidest ending lines to a film I think I've ever heard. And then they roll credits. I'm like, you guys didn't want to do a second draft of this?
No.
I have
that line reeks of them having one argument once or hearing that as a joke in a better thing, and then being like, let's just like let this be our end all be all on like what. Because, I mean, I don't want to give it too much shit as being, like, a food metaphor to end everything, because I just praise everything everywhere all at once, where most of the movie is based off of an everything bagel. So I can't give it too much shit for how stupid. But they did stupid in the correct way, because there's a dildo fight in that movie, and they knew what the fuck they were about. This does not have any right.
There's a very thin line between absurdist and stupid.
Yes,
and I think this movie is very clearly on the line of stupid, versus Everything Everywhere All at Once is obviously absurdity, which is like intentional, intentionally ridiculous. This movie is unintentionally stupid. I have no best lines unless you have anything you wanted to quote here. I think there's no moment in this movie that's written well. It's crazy. It's hard to rate a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes long and nobody says one thing that I write down. If you guys ever saw our docs, maybe once I'll like drop a doc. My notes are psychopathic. I write like everything down and I have to delete shit to make sure these podcasts aren't 6 hours long. I wrote 0 lines from this movie down that are good.
No, yeah, we're gonna get the bad line. I hope you have my bad line written, because I didn't write it down because I had to.
I have some bad lines.
Oh man, I think there's a line in there, man. Ugh.
I will say I have one nominee for best moment, so I guess it is the default winner. There is one cool fight scene in this movie, and it's only cool for a very small part of it. It's when Bulletproof Monk is fighting young Strucker on the roof, so once they get to the roof and before Carr enters the fight, and it's just the two of them, that is a cool fight scene. As soon as Carr enters the fight, this fight gets stupid, and before they get to the roof, the fight is really stupid. So there's just like this really thin part of that scene that's cool. Get me to agree with there?
Yes. But my biggest thing about that roof scene is that how the fuck do you get up to that roof?
Oh yeah, it doesn't make any sense. They fell through the floor into an elevator that then took them to the roof, and then he's just standing.
Yes,
there. Yeah,
he's just there. Did he run up the stairs? How did he even know he was going to go up
I
there?
think he can
There's no
fly,
indication that...
right?
I don't fucking know.
There's a part
fucking
in that.
tell us.
There's a part in that scene leading up to that fight where, after he's, I guess, drained the scroll power, and he has some of the scroll power, but not all of it, I guess. And then Seann William Scott jumps across the floor of the brain draining lab that he has created to house all these monks he kidnapped. And then he stops him midair, like he has the fucking force, and then he throws him back. And I'm like, wait, what? When has anybody been able to do that in this movie? It's like when suddenly Jade, who up until this point we know nothing about her except for that she has terrible taste in men, suddenly becomes an explosives and robotics expert. It's just at the end of the movie.
Not that much of an expert though, because you put that in the car. Once people shoot the car, the bombs are going to explode. It doesn't work that way. The car was not bulletproof.
Actually, I've watched enough MythBusters to know that you can shoot C4 with a fucking rocket launcher and it won't explode. It has to you have to run a charge through it. It's actually a very stable compound.
Okay, listen, honestly, movie. I didn't know that.
My girl Jaime King knows something.
There you go.
She knows her shit.
Hey, listen, she's an explosive expert. I'm a dumbass with a podcast, so,
She's an explosive expert for some reason.
It's like that. I know I sent you that article where it was just like, it was like an Onion type thing. It was like, local podcaster admits he's wrong. And it was like, for the first time in 300 episodes, podcaster Corey Bishop admits that he's wrong.
I'll be the first to admit I don't know shit about nothing. Except for movies.
Except for movies.
The last question in the section of how good is this movie is, are we sure this movie isn't good? And I think for a while, this is the easiest resounding no that we've had, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I thought you were thinking about it for a second. I was like, Corey, what do you mean?
No. I'm doing that for comedic effect.
Okay. I was a little worried that we were about to have a debate about whether or not there's some merit to this movie.
No, it's I hate it.
It's the worst thing I've seen this year, easily.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I have that is not actually saying.
And you saw Morbius. A lot of bad movies this year.
I did see Morbius. I forgot I saw Morbius. This is worse than Morbius. Let's be very clear about that. Ooh. This is worse than Morbius. Unfortunately, nobody says it's Morbin time in this movie either. Which
see, that would have made it.
I think would have improved it.
That would have.
I'm trying to think, what's the worst movie I've seen in the year 2022? It might be. It must be this. It must be this easily.
It must be this. I mean, I think I've only watched bad movies because of our podcast recently. Yeah. I haven't actually been saw a movie that I'm like, oh, this is just shit. I think I've just actually been pretty lucky.
The worst movie on my current list, because I keep a list so that I don't.
Yeah, you're smarter than I am.
Yeah, so I don't lose my mind once December comes. The worst movie on my list right now is Ambulance. So it's not even Morbius. I thought Ambulance was much worse than Morbius.
I don't know why you saw that movie.
I didn't realize that it was a fucking Michael Bay movie. What do you mean?
I thought I told you.
You probably did. All right. Unless you have anything else to say about how good this movie is, it's time to answer the age-old question. How bad is this movie?
Oh, it's horrible. Because we were talking about how bad it was during how good it was.
We gotta do it. We gotta do a little bit more in depth here. We already addressed this, but of course, I did want to bring back the fact that this movie starts after the prequel, the prologue. The start of this movie, when we introduce Seann William Scott, he assaults a police officer and then evades arrest. 2 felonies, and there are no police in the rest of this movie.
No, there's not.
Nobody's looking for the man who beat up Officer Jones in the fucking subway at all. Nobody cares for some reason. Let's see, what else do I have in my notes? I would love to talk more about Funktastic, but we're already at the hour mark, so I'll leave it. I did make the note, you already brought this up, but I made the note that this movie is just Book of Eli. I wonder who got the idea from who.
I don't know. I don't know what chicken or the egg situation was really with that one.
Yeah.
I really hope it's not. I really hope the person who did Book of Eli did not watch Bulletproof Monk, because I hope nobody watched this movie. I know people technically did, and I'm sorry for all of you.
I mean, we did, so.
I know, I'm sorry for myself. I'm nowhere mad at you, because I was trying to avoid this for so many months.
But let's talk about the worst performance of this movie.
Okay.
Who do you have a nominee for worst performance? Who do you think?
I think I'm agreeing with you. I think Jaime King is just.
Yeah,
bringing,
Jaime King.
I don't think she's bringing anything to the table in this. It's like I kept on forgetting it was the same character because she wasn't really giving like any kind of personality to either of the roles, and I think that's partially writing, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like she wants. I don't think anybody really wanted to be there on this movie, but she seemed like she hated every second that she was on set.
Well, it's also like now. I don't want to have this discussion right now, but I think it's an apt analogy. But it reminds me a lot of the villain in Obi-Wan Kenobi recently, and we will have this discussion on a later regular episode. But I can't tell where the line is between terribly written character and really bad acting. Because I don't think this character is entirely Jaime King's fault, but I also don't think she's entirely blameless either. And for those of you who watch
I can agree with that.
I am currently playing the horny fight scene, and it's making me very upset.
You're the one playing it. I can't see it either. Thanks for
I didn't remember how horny it was. Just go check out the YouTube video. Another plug for the YouTube channel. Link in the description. You can see what I'm talking about. It's very, very strange. And again, like just her performance. There are moments in this movie where she's supposed to have really emotional reactions to stuff. She walks into a room where she sees, I think, like a dozen Tibetan monks strapped to a bunch of.
What the fuck was up with that? I was kind of confused on that one. I looked away for a second. What the fuck was that about?
He's like draining their memories. I think because there's a scene, there's a part when he like plugs in Bulletproof. I'm gonna see if you have my information or something.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How?
I don't know. I don't know, Corey.
They don't establish that he can do that whatsoever beforehand. That's not even a thing they even like remotely like.
Well, that's the thing.
Bring up.
If this movie is really weird because it's like not fantasy enough to excuse all of the stuff that's happening in it, but also it's clearly not supposed to be a realistic film either. There's fucking flying monks and brain draining machines. It's very weird. We're in agreement. Jaime King is the worst performance in this movie. Again, I don't want to pile on her, but it's the case.
Let's just put this out there though. It's like not like anybody else is really running away with this.
Right. There's not like an Oscar worthy performance here. I will say I did think about as people know, I'm a big fan of the rewatchables. And they just added a new category that I think will be really fun for us to do, where they watch good movies. They can talk about them again. We watch terrible movies, but one of the categories they added is just one Oscar. So if you had to give just one Oscar to somebody, either performance or writing or directing or whatever in this movie, who would you give it to?
It's Chow Yun-Fat, but it's like not even like it's like really like. You win the Oscars. It's definitely not directing. The fight choreography shit. Music's bad.
Editing is really, really terrible too.
Best supporting actor, Mako.
I'm about it. I think that would have to be
best supporting.
Yeah, I think
not the best performance, but best supporting. This is his Manchester by the Sea moment. He's in one or two scenes, fucking kills and leaves the movie.
Like who's the one that was in American Gangster? Who she was in like 8 minutes of the movie, the mother, and won Best Supporting Actor that year. That
was my reference to Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, same thing. I just want to put this out there. I think we're the only people in the universe who ever connected Bulletproof Monk to American Gangster and Manchester by the Sea. That deserves an award by itself.
Because we're fucking sick. What do you mean? We're the best. All right, time for worst lines. Worst lines. I
wish I wrote mine down. Can I just?
Is it not one of mine?
No.
Let me run through my three right quick.
Go ahead.
So I've got first up. This is already referenced this scene. This is at the end of the fight in the rat dungeon under the subways, whatever the fuck that thing was. But Jade leans over to Funktastic to have him stop fighting this guy she's fallen in love with immediately. And she says, "Violence gets me hot." To which he responds, "Lucky for you, this crumpet has come begging for some of my funktastic love." And then he leaves. I don't know. I won't pretend to be a man who like completely understands women and like is like got it all figured out when it comes to romance. But I know one thing. I know women don't like being called little crumpet.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty fucking sure about that one.
You know, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going on a Hinge right now. Let's just get back to the.
Do not send.
Okay, guys. Unfortunately, my account is now frozen. So yeah.
As it should be, honestly. It just should be an automatic, like a bot sweeps any messages. If you ever say, "Lucky for you, this crumpet has come begging for some of my funktastic love," you should be in prison.
Fantastic love. Jeez.
Next line in a vacuum is not terrible, but when you have watched the rest of this movie and coming from the tiny white girl that says this, when Jade says the street is the one place I can earn my respect, and that's her explanation for why she leaves her $1 million mansion, I guess in like Long Island, to go hang out in the subways of New York, is that the street is the one place I can earn my respect, is crazy. Last but not least of my nominations, we have car, ending of the movie. This is the punch up line, the finisher. This is how they want to let people leave the theater in 2003 on the way back to boot up their Sega Genesis, I think.
Come on, dude, you said 2003? Come on, Shay, really?
What was it? To the GameCube? GameCube was 2003, right? Yeah,
that was
like,
sure. Yeah, GameCube, PlayStation.
That's
2,
2 years after Melee. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot how time worked for a second. Don't do this.
I'm surprised you could pull the fucking year from Melee out. Like, that was more impressive than anything.
Well, I still watch Melee all the time. Shout out to my boy Zane. All right, so Carr says to end the movie, this is in response to the running bit about why there are more hot dogs in a hot dog pack than there are hot dog buns, to which the answer is because they want you to have to buy a bunch of hot dogs and hot dog buns. But apparently, according to, I guess, ancient Tibetan monk wisdom, the answer is life doesn't always work out according to plan, so be happy with what you got because you can always get a hot dog. What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know.
What? I had to rewind it 5 times to make sure I wrote the line down correctly. I'm just going to say it again for you guys. This is like the meaning of life, I guess. Life doesn't always work out according to plan, so be happy with what you got because you can always get a hot dog.
No, that's like, you know what it is, Chase. It's like literally this. It's the same proverb as when life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
No, but at least those two phrases next to each other are related. Yeah. Life doesn't always work out, and you can always get a hot dog have nothing to do with each other.
No.
And also, honestly, guys, like in this situation, the hot dog isn't really a metaphor.
No, it's not, because it doesn't make any fucking sense.
What's your line?
I don't remember. I wish I could remember it better, but there's this scene where he's like, "This is my bodyguard. He has like 10 toes and 10 fingers and all this other bullshit."
It's when they meet in the middle of New York somehow.
Yes, somehow.
Yes.
And my mind immediately went to, "This is Katana. She has my back." And
this is Katana.
I think honestly,
you don't want to be killed by her.
I think, honestly, this might have been the inspiration for the Katana line. I have a feeling that David Ayer saw that line. He's like, I'm going to remember this. This is going to be the back of my head whenever I need this at some point. It's bold of you to
assume that David Ayer has ever watched a movie that wasn't made by David Ayer, but I respect you for that.
Man, Fury rocked. Except for that one long-ass scene. But Fury
David Ayer has made some good movies, but he's also made some really bad movies. And they're all the same movie somehow. It's very weird.
Guys, I think, honestly, you should tune into the stream because I look like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. It's very, very funny. I'm like hidden in the shadows occasionally.
It's great.
It's so silly.
I know what my pick is, obviously. Do you have a preference between those 4, what the worst line is?
I think the crumpet one is really, it's kind of hilariously bad. It's like
the crumpet one's terrible. So, for me, it's got to be the hot dog line. I don't even understand what it means.
The hot dog. I think the hot dog one's more frustrating than anything like that.
Yeah, it's like it's like the first draft that you like put a placeholder in for like poignant line here. But they didn't go back and write a poignant line. They just left the placeholder line in, and then they closed their movie with it. It's often the case that like movies like this are really lazily made, and you can see stuff like this, like really poorly written lines and stuff like that. I think I was just reminded of this and thinking about that, the lazy writing. Remember the scene where he's fighting Funktastic in the pipe? Did you notice that they closed and opened the fight with the exact same shot?
Yep.
What?
Yeah, I don't.
Did they not think we were watching the movie? How do they think they could get away with that?
I think they might have just been like, yo, no one really gives that much of a fuck about this, what's happening right now. It's just, the scene establishes that he can fight, even though it's a really bad fight scene.
Yes. It also, it reminds me of, I think it's the third Transformers movie where it went to theaters, and Michael Bay, who was still directing them at that time, had forgotten to fill in multiple green screens in a shot that he had like monitors on a TV where a character's supposed to be monitoring the Transformers, and there's just a couple of them are still green. It's like, how fucking lazy could you be? Like, this movie's just like a really shitty cash grab, as evidenced by the fact that the movie ends with a fucking line about a hot dog. But I'm willing to give it to the crumpet line because it did get you banned from Hinge. So we'll call that the worst line of the movie. We'll blaze these nominations really quick. We have worst moments. I got two. The whole two movies are terrible, but I've got two that stand out. The rooftop helicopter fight, because the whole time I'm just thinking, why are there no police in this movie, or like the military? Like, if a helicopter is basically running a military assault in the middle of New York, and nobody's doing anything about it.
I think we're kind of flying by Matrix rules at this point, Jay.
Yeah, but at least in the Matrix, the whole point is that it's a fucking machine.
I said we're going by Matrix rules.
Right.
I didn't elaborate more than that.
We have breaking into Jade's house, which I think it just has to be the worst scene, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, why is it happening? How did they get here? And then, as it's happening, he assaults her. It's just, from top to bottom, it's just a truly horrible scene. Do you have any more nominations or
No, I think that's about it. I think honestly, those are
the two worst of a movie of terrible scenes.
Yes, the rooftop helicopter fight is just fucking abysmal.
And it goes on for so long.
Which is okay. One of my more annoying bits about that scene where the helicopter's falling, it hits the ground, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like originally it was dragging him and hits the ground. So why would he keep getting dragged once it hit the ground?
I guess momentum, right? I don't know.
But like, he's like getting actively dragged when he was like, it wasn't even like momentum. I don't know. I need like a freaking.
The physics of that entire scene are insane.
Someone like give me like an action figure and a rock and a piece of string, and I'll figure this shit out. But I don't feel like doing that right now.
It's a mess. Got a couple unanswerable questions to run by you, see if you have an answer for them.
Okay,
and then
I'll do my best.
And we can finally fix this movie for once and for all. First one. What is a Nazi battalion doing in Tibet in 1943?
I feel like it's probably the same as Indiana Jones rules, though.
I guess, but at least like the Middle East is near Europe. It's like there.
I think. I mean, I don't know. I think. Well, no. Like in the beginning of the movie, they go to Tibet to kind of get in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's right. They do.
So I'm playing it by like the Führer. The Führer wants. Wait, this is 1943, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is like this is the middle of the war. The war is happening. They're in fucking France right now, killing people.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it's like, I think it's a whole, like, Hitler was looking for mystical things, and that's why he's in the middle of fucking nowhere. I guess. Hey, this is the stretch.
Weirdly, so, like, in the comic book,
yeah,
one of the characters, like, their whole motivation, there's a gang that's, like, tied to the Chinese government. They're like, and they're doing all these things they keep saying, like, for the, like the love of Mao, like they want Mao's adoration and stuff. Very interesting. At no point did the Nazis mention the Fuhrer. I think that would have been an explanation for why they're in to bed at the time, but he doesn't ever come up. Another indication of just how lazy this movie is. All right, next question, guy. You did answer it well, so that's good. I do think we addressed this already, but I do think it's worth asking again because it's a major hole in the plot of this movie that is filled with major holes. But why would you carry around the scroll everywhere with you?
Yeah, I didn't understand that. Like,
the scroll.
Yeah, and I don't understand like why you even went back to get it. If it got pickpocketed from me and it's nothing actually on it, I'm just gonna go find some other bullshit. Like, I feel like if I could find something from like a dollar store that looks like enough bullshit like that, just to replace it.
Yeah, if it's just a distraction, just another, like, if it's just to lead people off the scent of where the actual scroll is, which is partially tattooed on your body, but then also partially in your mind, which again, ridiculous. Yeah, very, very, very weird decision on everyone's part in this movie. Do you have any other unanswerable questions for me, Corey, or should we go to break and then come back and
I'm just confused on
disaster?
I'm just like kind of confused like what the entire point of Jaime King's like character was. Like she was like underground, but she's also interested in museum artwork, and also she's a crime lord's daughter. And then at the end, like they give her like she's also now somebody who
she's also the scroll person. Yeah.
And also, like,
yeah, I guess we didn't really address that, did we? That they're both at the end of this movie. They both get to be the protectors of the scroll because she like sort of also fulfilled the prophecy.
She like kicked him a pipe in the first scene, and that's like, yep, she helped defeat. I'm like, that seems a bit dumb.
Also, I know this happens all the time in like the Chosen One movies, which we both agreed is like it's like a really pretty stupid structure for a story or whatever.
The only Chosen One movie that counts is Kung Pao: Enter the Fist, and that's I will hear. Nothing else. Nothing else, Jay.
I won't argue with the air. But it is weird. Not just weird. It's like borderline negligent that he gives it to these two people 2 days after meeting them, passing up this entire collection of monks that have devoted their whole life to this. I mean, I know people like to hire from the outside and everything.
Yeah.
Like to bring in new blood, but sometimes you got to promote your VP, right?
Right?
What are they doing here? It's so weird.
I think that's the reason that they betrayal. I guess it's like the
reason
why they.
I thought so, but that's not what he says. He says
what's he
when
say?
The guy says why. The monk that betrayed them like turned them over to the Nazis, which is weird because obviously you have to know that the Nazis aren't gonna like work with you.
They're the Nazis.
Yeah, they don't like Asian people, you idiot. But he doesn't say like, oh, he passed me out for this white guy who he met 2 days ago, which I would have respected. He's like, I don't want to protect the scroll. I want to read it. So he just wants the power of the scroll. He's just a greedy idiot.
Yep, basically.
He's not even mad for the right reasons. Whatever. All right, should we go to break and then come back and with the production offices of Bishop and Shabazz will fix this movie?
Let's do it.
Hey. So I figured it out. Why hot dogs come in packages of 10 and hot dog buns come in packages of 8. See, the thing is that life doesn't always work out according to plan. So be happy with what you got. So you can always get a hot dog.
You got it.
And we're back.
What's up?
All right. So, for those of you who have not watched or not listened to a Curse of the Rewatch episode before, this segment, we fix the movie. We remake it for 2022. The premise is, of course, this movie has never happened before. In this case, it wouldn't matter if this movie happened before because I don't intend to save any parts of this film. But basically, we're just trying to see if we can make a good versus movie because, honestly, who knows more about movies than me? Steven Spielberg.
True.
And that's it. That's the end of the list. Shout out to Steven Spielberg, I guess. I don't really know.
I mean, that's like, I mean, he's a very he is
Yeah.
Not much I really don't. I don't even have a joke for that one.
So you walked the opposite of the greatest pictures in Hollywood history. Bishop and Shabazz, as I said before. The question is, who are we getting to make this movie? So I had a couple ideas.
Okay.
Let me know if you got a couple ideas as well. So I wanted to.
I don't want to make this movie again. I want to put this out there, guys. It's like I don't think this needs to be made again. But I'm sorry.
No, but I think there is a version. That's what I said. That's why I think the concept is good. The concept of this movie works, which is why I think there is a version of this movie that is good. And to direct that movie, we're gonna get John Watts, who also. Again, the point of the exercise is to be like realistic. Obviously, we're gonna get fucking Steven Spielberg and Aaron Sorkin to write it, and then get The Rock and somebody else to star in it. Actually, I don't really want The Rock in this movie, but you get the point.
It's a very insane. I mean, like, listen, I like them all, but I wouldn't want Quentin. I wouldn't want.
No, I just listed a bunch of famous names that the Frank cows off my head. That movie would be terrible. Actually,
that would be not a good movie.
But John Watts, who I guess is most famous for directing the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogies. I don't know if people know who the director of like Marvel movies are, but so that's why I think John Watts should be good, because Spider-Man obviously has the action and the comedy that I'm looking for in this kind of movie. But also, if you haven't seen his first movie, Cop Car with Kevin Bacon, very well made. He also wrote that, and he has directed the first 2 episodes of The Old Man, a show that I am absolutely obsessed with now, and is like very well shot and paced, and like turns what I think is like a pretty pedestrian. That's not fair. It's a well written show too, but I think it's like a really boilerplate idea of a show into something really special, and I think he's a big part of that. So that's why I think John Watts would be perfect for this kind of movie, which is like in a lot of ways sort of a high concept film that, given the right talent, you could turn into something great. It's like Beverly Hills Cop, right? Beverly Hills Cop is like
I do like this
idea.
Yeah. And I think if we decide to actually go in a bit more of like, depending on how grounded we want to keep, and I know we kind of you do use him a lot, because I think like, so I don't really want to put this as like a number one choice, because I think I like John Watts as a choice for this. Would be Matthew Vaughn. Yeah. I think as a backup. And I'm more like kind of focusing on like the old Kingsman, because I think like, it does such a good job doing the fish out of water, with one of the guys being very good in martial arts.
Yeah, I considered Matthew Vaughn. The hang up for me there was because I mean I love the first Kingsman. I'm absolutely obsessed with A Layer Cake and Kick Ass, and I love First Class. This most recent Kingsman movie, I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm. Yeah, no, that was. I'm not saying you definitely shouldn't write it, and I definitely think you should have a lot less influence on how the story is paced, basically.
Yeah,
because that the last 2 Kingsman movies have not been good.
I sort of like the second one. The second one I think is like goofy and fun a lot of ways.
It's goofy. But it's like I think it's like a bit too goofy, man. I think it's like I think that's like a bit too cartoonish. I'm kind of hoping he like figures it out for whenever he does the next one.
He's got a couple movies coming out pretty soon, so hopefully. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff he's made that I really enjoy. I like Matthew Vaughn a lot. I do think if I was picking, I'd still go with John Watts, just because I think like the Spider-Man movies have no right to be as well made as they are, because usually those Marvel movies, they're not like the best pieces of directing cinema, but
it seems like they're kind of doing it. Well, this isn't the conversation for that right now, but it seems like they're kind of starting to go into a different trend of that, at least.
Mm-hmm. I think so. It seems that way, which is only good news.
I'm sure we're gonna have more of a conversation on that in a couple of weeks when we talk about Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. As far as who would be a good writer for this movie, I picked. I think my favorite current screenplay writer at the moment, and that's Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who 2 years ago I would have been like ridiculous choice by me. Who she's like famous for Fleabag and Killing Eve and Crashing, 3 shows that are not really anything like what I'd want from a action comedy movie. But last year she wrote No Time to Die, massive budget action movie of James Bond, for those of you who don't remember. And then coming up, she's got the Mr. and Mrs. Smith show that she's co-writing and co-creating. So
a lot of casting
if it's anything like the movie, if it's anything like the movie, kind of the exact tone I'd be looking for. So And also, I think she's the best working screenwriter right now.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Saying, Corey?
No, I was gonna say I think that's a really good choice. It was like, especially with Killing Eve. I think, if anything, I don't think I would really want this to be. I mean, this movie that we watched was not a comedy, but I figured that they kind of wanted it to be a comedy, and I think it was like
right. That's my point. It was trying.
I think if anything, I think if anything, this should be like an action movie with like jokes in it, which I think, yeah.
Well, I mean, Killing Eve, for those of you who haven't seen it, is like the perfect example of tone. Is what I think would work in a movie like this, where it is, at times, Villanelle can be like absolutely ridiculously funny. Like some of the stuff that Jodie Comer is doing in that show is the funniest stuff I've ever seen, and then sometimes that show is like horrifying and brutal. And I think that's the sort of tone that. Same with like going back to John Watts. Same with the stuff in Spider-Man where the first 5/6 of Spider-Man: Homecoming is like a really fun ride, and then a steel beam drops on Spider-Man's chest, and it's like a very harrowing experience for a second, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And I think it really works.
He has one of those per movie, and they are always fucking. He's good at that. I don't actually remember.
I still can't believe they fucking did May like that, though. I'm still mad.
But it's such a good scene. It was a good ass scene, though.
I know it was a good really scene, good scene. I just. No, it was. It absolutely was a good scene.
No Way Home was a fucking depressing ass movie, and it like especially when the Homecoming is such a fun, upbeat movie, and then No Way Home is just like this. This was. I feel bad now.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to go back and rewatch it again. Because
I'm gonna do a little Marvel run in preparation for Thor. I think so. I will be watching that. All right, so for our cast, I thought I just recast the 5 main characters. I didn't bother casting many of the other side characters. So starting with our 3 good guys, I went with, for Bulletproof Monk, Donnie Yen, star of my favorite Star Wars movie. Carr, John Boyega, because my favorite Star Wars movie, let's be very clear. But I will never get over his performance in Attack the Block. I think it's still one of my favorite performances of all time in a movie.
I have a feeling, I don't know, I have no reason to base this off of, but I have a feeling that he was like 5 years away from like kind of having like a like career. I think he just needs to be in like one good blockbuster movie.
It's a bad movie, let's be very, very clear. Which he keeps getting. I think he keeps delivering good performances in bad movies. But his
the Idris Elba effect.
Yeah. Although Idris Elba has some good ones under his belt. John Boyega doesn't have many.
No.
But his movie last year, Naked Singularity, with starring him and Olivia Cook, he is very good in this movie that I don't think works at all in a lot of ways, and I think a lot of that has to do with Chase Palmer, who's the director of that, who is, I think that's his like first feature film, if I'm correct. Yeah, it's his first time directing a feature film, and he's just like out of his depth. But he has a lot to offer, and even in that fucking unwatchable Pacific Rim movie, he's really good.
Yeah.
For some reason, Charlie Day is in it, like possessed by spiders or something. It's such a weird fucking movie.
I remember reading like a weird like Reddit thread being like, I was like somebody was just like, it sounded like an insane person being like, yeah, no, I was like involved in the pitch for Pacific Rim 2, and he was like listing out everything that happened in that movie. Everyone's like, this sounds like fucking dog shit, you're a fucking liar. And I hate that he was right about everything, because he was fucking dog shit.
It's one of the most, I think it's one of the most egregious examples of like the bloat and in a lot of ways that I still love movies, but the undeniable like decline of Hollywood is that movie, because the first Pacific Rim is like this film made by this genuine auteur. I know some people are not as like high on the Guillermo del Toro hive as we are.
Fucking won an Oscar.
Yeah, you can't deny that he is like in a lot of ways like a sort of singular filmmaker, and he made this giant monster movie, and it's just got all of these really fun elements in it, and Idris Elba is incredible. Charlie Hunnam, who I ride for to the day I die, is great. Simu Liu, who at the time I don't think anybody really knew, he wasn't like a household name, also in that movie. And then the second one is, it's like a fucking paint by numbers blockbuster that has nothing to do with anything, and then it stars, and they just threw a bunch of kids in it for some reason. It's incomprehensible. But yeah, I would love John Boyega to be in this movie because I think he's great, and I think this movie could be great with him. And also, my version's set in London because all my people are English because I have a problem. Except for Jade, who I'm stealing from Kick-Ass, the great Chloe Grace Moretz, sorry, has proved that she can. Yeah, it's proved that she can be like a sassy, fun action star. I know Kick-Ass 2 is not nearly as good as the first one, but
I never even saw it, honestly. It's like, because I really like Kick-Ass, and I just kept forgetting about it, honestly.
It's not terrible. I know there's a lot of people who like really hate it, which I don't really get. Like, it's not great. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. I think what it is it's nowhere near as good as the first one, which made people really upset. As obviously we're just talking about Pacific Rim, but I think there are parts of it that really work, and she's really good in it. And like I said, it's proved that she can do the action really well. So did you have picks for your three leads? Did you want to recast?
I mean, I definitely like the Donnie Yen pick. I was trying to think of another like martial artist to kind of put in there because it's like a weird like bubble area right now where we don't really have a lot of like examples of like the older.
I thought about Jet Li.
I thought about Jet Li, but I don't think he does. Like, I don't think his like, body
recently.
I don't think his body lets him like actually. I think like he actually like has a physical like he can't actually do it, and I kind of think somebody needs to have some physicality to it.
Just sitting the whole time.
So yeah, exactly. So I'm like, yeah, and it's like the other option. I mean, Jackie Chan is like a very obvious option.
Still out here working. Still out here working.
I'm just trying to think.
I haven't seen a Jackie Chan movie. I don't think like in like 7 years, but he's making them still. That's not true. I saw The Foreigner for some reason, and it was terrible.
And I think I really do like the John Boyega pick because I'm trying to think of somebody like I wanted someone like early 30s, who would definitely fit in that, who can like get a sense of humor to it. I think, but you don't want someone. I didn't want like a too young. Cause I mean, like I was even thinking like Tom Holland, but I'm like I kind of was so taken out of Uncharted because I'm so used to him being a child. Even though he's like 25 at this point.
Yeah, the scene where he's like bartending and hitting on women is made me uncomfortable for some reason.
It was weird. Like when he was like he was like an alcoholic in that movie, and I was like,
yeah,
this is weird, right?
I'm sure Tom Holland, who like you said is in his mid-20s, loves that we're like, look at this child. He's 2 years younger than us.
Is it bad to typecast Simu Liu in another martial arts film?
No, I thought about it. The only thing I kind of like like I said, I think I like really actually do think I like about the first movie is the fish out of water thing, and I like the idea of not there's not.
Really, we can still keep him
around the UK, but
yeah, I mean he could be like he can still be like American or something like that. I just kind of think, I don't know. I think like I kind of wanted a young actor who could actually do the physicality of it. Yeah. And it's like kind of like
Liu has proved that he absolutely can. So I agree. Yeah. That's a good choice. I wonder what his next thing is. Actually, I was thinking about him when I was going through this exercise. I wonder. So is his next thing a Marvel movie? No, something called One True Love.
He's in. Is he in that? So. I feel like I'm making this up, but isn't he in the Russo brothers movie coming up, like The Gray Man? I might be making that up though.
He is not according to his IMDb.
For instead of what's it called? Whatever her fucking name is, Jade. I'm gonna
Jaime
go
King or Chloe Grace Moretz.
No, I was talking about the character's name.
Bad Girl. What do you mean? What's her name? Bad Girl.
I'm gonna go pull out one of my favorite actresses, Diane Guerrero from Doom Patrol. I feel like that would be a lot of fun. I feel like she has so much personality, which is like the exact opposite of what Jaime King had, and I kind of like think you need to kind of bounce it off of things. With that. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like her a lot, and I feel like she would just like have a lot of fun doing this. I mean, she has a lot of fun playing 3 different characters on this other show. And as she's
a great actress, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and as for my bad guy, who's a stereotypical like, you know what? I was about to say like just put Christoph Waltz.
I mean, I picked basically the British Christoph Waltz. I went Tim Roth for Strucker.
That's actually a pretty good one.
I'm in the Tim Roth hive like fucking nobody else. I watched both seasons of Tin Star, a truly terrible television show, and I've seen Lie to Me more than once. So I think he's absolutely incredible.
And okay, so here's going to be my pick because we're just picking somebody vaguely European as this pick. I'm picking Tom Walshishiha. I want to say he's currently cast in Stranger Things season 4 as the Russian guard, but also known from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
that guy. I got that guy, the man with no name. I don't fucking know. Put some random no name as his daughter.
Well, so Nina, I've talked about this show once before. I think Claire Dune from Kin, she's an Irish actress, and I think, one, she's incredible in Kin, but the thing I really like about her Kin character is the first season of Kin is like a mini version of Breaking Bad, where you watch this woman go from, like, housewife who's trying to ignore the fact that her family is embroiled in crime to, at the end of the season, is basically the crime lord of the family. And you watch her, like, make this journey from somebody who seems, and obviously it's not the case, who like seems sort of like a wilting flower in this, and you realize she's very brutal and as despicable as many of the people that we've seen in this show. And she's also just really good, like in this movie herself from 2 years ago. She's fantastic. She's a great actress, and I would love to introduce more Americans to her. Also, apparently is in Far From Home, but I don't remember who the hell she is in that movie. But shows up on her IMDb. Claire Dune. I don't know. I think this movie could work. There's no point in going over like what
I think she was I think she was the woman who gave Peter his costume. The one who's like randomly in like that random like they get off the bus and she like gives Peter like his costume, and then the guy walks in while he's just like half naked in front of this random European woman.
Oh.
It's like a quick gag, basically.
Yeah, I haven't seen Far From Home in a while, but that
it was a very quick gag, but it was just an older woman telling a young boy to take off his clothes. Thanks, John Watts, the director of our movie.
I don't think you're making it sound much worse than it actually is, and also I'm not sure that's John Watts' fault.
I'm joking. This is a big joke.
So, quickly running down our films. For me, I've got directed by John Watts, written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. The Monk is Donnie Yen. Car, John Boyega. Jade, Chloe Grace Moretz. Strucker, The Great Tim Roth. And Nina, Claire Dune. Corey, your film?
Monk, Jackie Chan. Car, did I say John Boyega again? I think we actually kind of just like ended up being like, I have no fucking idea who I would put in this movie. Besides John Boyega.
I think that's a good start. John Boyega, Jackie Chan is a movie
I think John Boyega or Simu Liu. I think those were my two picks. Jade, Diane Guerrero. Strucker, that guy from Stranger Things. I'm not going to say his name again. And I said Nina. I think we should give it to a no name.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to try.
New face is always good.
Not even going to fucking try.
We do not have a new movie to announce unless, Corey, you got one to pull out of your hat.
Not out of my hat, no. I think we're probably going to do some regular episodes for a bit before we kind of hop into that. So
yeah, our plan is, I think we've got 2 regular episodes. I got to check our text messages. 2 regular episodes, and then a reminder again, because it's a big fat book, so you should be reading it already. We're going to be doing Monsters by Brian Windsor Smith. That's our book club for, I think it's been our book club since like May, but of course everything got out of whack. We will be talking about Hero Guys in the next episode. We'll be talking about what else? Something else came out recently that maybe we'll go back and revisit Miss Marvel, which we're going to be.
Yeah, we're going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi finale. We're going to be also talking about the Stranger Things season 4 finale, which is coming out this Friday. So we have a lot to be talking about next week, guys. Not be able to do Thor next week because I'm going out of town, unfortunately. So hopefully I'll be able to see Thor the week after it comes out. My work schedule is a bit in flux. So we will see when that happens. But after that, I'm going to be unemployed. So if you guys have any kind of job openings, please reach out to nexttimeonpodcast@gmail.com because I need a job. I'm not joking. This is
I know. It's just,
I'm not joking.
very abrupt way to end the podcast. Unless you want to talk more about your employment status.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, listen, I'm a writer, a podcaster. I have TV production experience. Let me know.
Yeah, we'll be back with Corey still here because I'm not going to fire him just yet.
You don't even pay me.
Else? I don't even pay me. What do you mean? Nobody's making any money off of this endeavor.
I have
not yet.
I have nothing else.
But if you guys subscribe, if you're watching the YouTube video, don't forget to like and all that good stuff. If you're listening to the podcast, please go rate us 5 stars on all your preferred podcast platforms. We're all over the place. It really helps us out. It helps new people find the podcast, all that good stuff. If you've enjoyed, if you made it this far into the episode, you must have enjoyed it, or maybe you fell asleep or something. But either way, I think it's really it's just an easy way to support us. So it will really help us out. Anything else for the people, Corey?
Nothing else for the people, guys.
All right. Well, I've been Che.
I've been Corey.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.